Beep, 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 beep. What we got here? News from the US of A. News from Americals. Right, now in America, The Guardian in America, The Guardian's written about America, about something called CPAC. I'm not even sure what that is. I think it's the Conservative Political Action Conference, right? Okay. But when we say conservative here, what we mean is conservative as an American. Just to get it straight, right? Not conservative as in British. Different thing. Different thing, okay? Buy me coffee, become a warrior teacher, Substack, etc. Right, here we go. Now, written by Lauren Gambino. Fantastic name. Okay. Oh, whenever I see a wonderful name like that, which obviously has an Italian resonance, all I can think about is Moonstruck. When the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie. With Cher. Fantastic. Right, so let's go. Lorena Gambino in Oxon Hill, Maryland, who's obviously a very upset person at the moment, said in regards to this meeting, the Conservative Political Action Conference, there was a joke about the suspected Chinese spy balloon's preferred pronouns. Claims that Democrats believe there are millions of genders. They do, right? And a menacing call for transgenderism to be eradicated. What? How can it? A menacing call what, for transgender? Weird, right? From the main stage of the Conservative Political Action Conference, CPAC, far-right activists, okay? Members of Congress and former President of the United States waged an aggressive assault on transgender rights last week, raising the issue in speeches and unrelated panel discussions, often under the guise of protecting children. That's a stonking first couple of paragraphs there. That's so full of misinformation. Doesn't mean they weren't doing what Gambino's saying they're doing, but it's just the way that she's framed it. It's brilliant. Have a look. I've put the article in the Dubris, right? Headline of the conference on Saturday, Donald Trump, the orange man's back. Right, okay. Drew some of the wildest applause of his more than 90-minute address when he pledged to stop the chemical castration and sexual mutilization of children if re-elected in 2024. She's fuming he did that. I mean, who'd call for that? Who'd call just, to say, stop this? Only the far right, according to Gambino, right? If re-elected in 2024 while endorsing a national ban on transgender medical treatment for young people, I'm with him, right? Orange man, I'm with you. Okay, I know it doesn't mean anything, but it's all right. Imagine people on the left who I know who are now going, but he said that. But it's Trump, and he said that. There'll be Trump derangement syndrome going off all over the country. I have to agree with Donald Trump. God, I love it. A day earlier, Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia, one of Trump's staunchest allies, rallied attendees with a speech devoted to the issue, unveiling her plan to reintroduce a bill that would criminalise doctors for providing gender-affirming care to a minor. Yes! Yes! That's exactly what we should be doing. Criminalise it! I love it to agree with the orange man. Oh, Trump! Left unsaid was that leading medical organisations, including the American Medical Association and the American Academy of Pediatrics, both offshoots of, I think, probably the drugs industry, right, okay, consider gender-affirming care to be medically necessary and potentially life-saving for children and adults diagnosed with gender dysphoria. Absolutely not. It's as if Cass doesn't exist, and they've got it and she knows it, right? It's as if Cass doesn't exist, and here we go, right? Here's what's interesting, because here's the bait and switch, right? Here's the bait and switch. Consider gender-affirming care to be medically necessary and potentially life-saving for children and adults diagnosed with gender dysphoria. There she is attempting to pull the focus away from what Trump said, which was, and that other woman, he's not a woman, what Trump said, by including adults in the conversation now. Much of the anti-trans discourse was aimed at liberals, not British liberals, who, according to the Republican Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana, believe children should be able to change their gender at recess. They do believe that. They do. And here's a brilliant line he said. Thank you, John Kennedy. I don't care what your political affiliation is. This is a good line. He said that Democrats believe children should be able to change their gender at recess and hyperventilate on their yoga mats if you use the wrong pronouns. It's so true. Hyperventilate on their yoga mats if you use the wrong pronouns. The remarks elicited peals of laughter from the audience. Well, it sounds like an audience with a sense of humour, doesn't it? Advocates say the vitriolic rhetoric, that's vitriolic rhetoric. They've got no sense of humour, these people. That's the trouble with the loony left, see? Can't do art, no sense of humour. Advocates say the vitriolic rhetoric on display at CPAC is reflective of the increasingly hostile movement among conservatives that seeks to regulate the lives of transgender Americans and marginalised vulnerable young people. Here we go again, another bait and switch. That seeks to regulate the lives of transgender Americans and marginalised vulnerable young people. Never mentioned either of those. He said children. Okay, so they then start to call them young people because you've got to bring the children back into the fold so they can recreate and keep going the myth of the trans child. This is how the left work. Fascinating, isn't it? Gambino, what are you doing, woman? All right. People like Marjorie Taylor Greene, right? This is from the Human Rights Campaign, a guy called Jeff Wachowski, campaign director of the Human Rights Campaign. People like Marjorie Taylor Greene will not be satisfied until every LGBTQ person is forced into the shadows. There's another forced teaming. It's extraordinary stuff. It's extraordinary. People like Marjorie Taylor Greene will not be satisfied until every LGBTQ person is forced into the shadows. Nobody's mentioned LGBT. Or for that matter, Q. Nobody's mentioned anything except the iatrogenic nature of transition. They have to drag it back into everything else because you can't separate off the reality and the safeguarding problem here. Crafty beggars. Get it? Right, okay. You can read it yourself, obviously. There's really no legislative purpose other than discrimination in these bills. So this guy, Jeff Wachowski, has said that in order that we're going to stop children from harming themselves, doctors from harming children, and we're going to stop a harmful belief system from ruining their lives. And he says that's discrimination, that we should be able to, without any kind of issue, do what we want with children. That's from the Human Rights Campaign. I mean, if they lost their way. In state legislatures across the country, Republican lawmakers are pursuing a barrage. It's a barrage, like a war, barrage, of new restrictions related to transgender youth's medical care, sports participation, and bathroom use. Yeah, of course they are. So far this year, anti-trans legislation has been proposed in... See, this has got nothing to do with the original problem. Right? So they said, let's stop medicalising children, let's make doctors liable if they do. These people are now going, yeah, but sports and toilets and... Right? Then they go back. Last week, the Republican governor of Tennessee signed into law a bill prohibiting gender-affirming care for minors, as well as one imposing new limits on drag performers. Right, so here we go. Now they're trying to pull in everything else. They want to stay away from the central issue because they've got no argument. Mississippi also enacted a ban. Again, we're into bits of legislation they're talking about here. And then they call on the World Health Organization by saying gender-affirming care is defined by the World Health Organization as social, psychological, behavioral, medical, including hormonal treatment or surgery, interventions designed to support and affirm an individual's gender identity. That's what they say it's defined by the World Health Organization. They're not going to say what the World Health Organization or others may already be considering. Now they have the evidence of what a terrible idea it is. While treatment for transgender youths seeking care is highly individualised, experts say most begin with social transitioning or present publicly in preferred gender. That's the beginning of the train. That's the iatrogenic harm. That's when the harm starts. And they refuse to recognise it. Adolescents may consider puberty blockers to temporarily pause sexual development. Temporarily pause sexual development. It doesn't temporarily pause it. They're lying through their teeth. Well, this one, Gambino, you are what's the Italian for teeth? Whatever it is, you're lying through them. It's not typically offered until 18. Yeah, liars. Toxic rhetoric and political actions can have profound consequences for LGBTQ Americans. It's got nothing to do with LGB, especially transgender youth, no such thing, for whom suicide rates are high. A lie! A lie. This is the Observer, right? The bloody Guardian of the Observer. Ugh. All you lovies that still hold on to this rag piece of shite. More than 70% of LGBTQ young people, including 86% of trans, say the political debate around trans issues has negatively affected their mental health. Well, colour me surprised, right? Of course, when this nonsense is allowed to run riot and nobody stands up and says, this is crap, drop it, right? Of course it's going to affect their mental health. It's affecting their mental health because it's an intellectual issue and they're trying to outthink themselves. It's going to send them mad. And then here we go. Harassment, intimidation and violence against LGBTQ plus Americans is rising, fueled by a rise in online speech. You caused this. The TQ caused this. That's why there's a rise. Hundreds of transgender people have been killed over the past decade, often in targeted shootings, with black trans women at especially high risk. Where? Brazil? The mythical black trans woman, always brought up. Brazil? Is that where? By spreading this propaganda, right? So to not want to stop children from medicalising, sterilising and hurting themselves is propaganda, is it? Right, okay. They're creating more stigma and discrimination and violence. And you're not creating anything by saying something. There are real repercussions and real world violence as a result of this rhetoric. It's not rhetoric to want to protect children and safeguarding. Wetrosky, you nutter. Angela Carusone, President and Chief Executive of Media Matters for America, which monitors right-wing media, does it? I bet she's a mad leftist. Down over here on the left. You're right there, Angelo. Angelo, can you still see the rest of the human race here? How is it on the left? That's her, right? Angelo Carusone said far-right influence have helped stoke this problem. Now, make no bones about it. There are people in America that are what we call far right, and there are people in America who are just right. I mean, it's the same as it is over here. But I think the one that really upset them the most, there's a few, but there's some here. A male panelist joked about transitioning into his female co-panelist Chaya Raichik, who runs Libs of TikTok, an anti-LGBTQ social media account. See, Libs of TikTok have got no problem with LGBT people. Another lamented that students in China are taught calculus while American students learn that there are 72 genders. It's true. Can you imagine when they were writing this, the editors going, for God's sake, is this all we've got now? Is this all that's left? And there's Gambino going, I've no idea. I go, no. But the speech that the LGBTQ advocates found the most chilling came from Michael Knowles, a right-wing political commentator for the Daily Wire. Oh no, the evil Daily Wire. Who declared that for the good of society, transgenderism must be eradicated from public life entirely. I agree with him. Gender ideology and queer theory have no place in the public sphere. It's part of that postmodern teat. So it can all go. All of it can go, right? They then go on about genocide. They always do that, don't they? We're being genocided. No, you're not. Okay? Anyway, so this is the last line. The vast majority of Americans support LGBTQ plus equality. Well, I can tell you this much. The vast number of Americans don't know what LGBTQ even means anymore with all these alphabet soup, Anthony's and Bumps Daisy people. Everybody at the conference apparently is on the wrong side of history. Okay. Don't want to hurt children. You're on the wrong side of history. Yeah, don't think that's gonna, that's not got the traction you think it has. Anyway, go and read it. It's ridiculous. All right, and I'll catch you later. Thanks, folks. Become a warrior teacher. Bye.